Hey everybody, this is Jacob Burks. Here I am here to present to you my Egypt culture universals. So let's get started. First on the list we have arts and leisure. Soccer in Egypt is the biggest sports, their main sport. They love to play it. Kids will play it in the sand, they'll play it in the dirt, they'll even take a couple of sticks, twine them together to make a goalpost. They'll play it anywhere. They'll do really anything involving soccer. They'll watch it on TV, play it, go to games, go to matches, whatever. They love it, and if it's got soccer in the name, they'll do it. Basic needs. This is one interesting fact is that Egyptians follow two different calendars. One is their regular Western calendar, and the other is the Islamic calendar, which is based off of the moon and where it is in the sky and its rotation and how full it is and all of that fun stuff. The really only difference between the normal calendar and the Islamic calendar is that the Islamic calendar has about 11 days less in the year, so you could technically turn older quicker because there's less days in the year if you think about it. So yeah. Beliefs. As you know, and is on all ancient history, treasure hunt films that are totally dumb and inaccurate, the Egyptians mummify their either rulers or very rich people. One thing that they don't always include in this is that they actually take out the internal organs of the person that is being mummified, I guess, and they put it in jars like you see here to the right as I'm moving my cursor over it, and they put them in certain jars, and that is to help represent the different gods that they're going to, and helps them almost as a sacrifice to each god in a sense. Communication and education. Interesting to know that there are actually more Egyptian Facebookers or people in Egypt. There are more people on Facebook and more Facebookers than in any other country in the Middle East. So Egypt has the most amount compared to any other country. Family. Now here's where it gets interesting, because as you know, and is in a lot of other countries as well, that marriages used to be arranged not by who was getting married, but usually by their parents or their family members. So if they wanted someone to get married, if they wanted their daughter to marry someone of a rich family, they would have them get married. And the people that were actually getting married, especially the females, had very, very little say in what was happening and who was getting married. Now, thankfully, in the modern world, a lot more people have a lot more say in who they get to marry and why they marry them and when and where. So, thankfully, that has changed. But if you can just imagine, you have to marry someone you don't even know or you've never ever even met. So if you think your parents have marriage problems, try having them be married to someone that since a couple of days ago they had never even heard of or met. Government and economy. Egyptians obviously use irrigation. It might seem like a silly thing, but they were one of the first civilizations to ever use irrigation, and it is still such an effective method of farming that it is still widely used today. Another interesting thing is that one of their kings, Pharaoh Pepi II, had one of the longest reigns of any monarch history. So he was very, very old, and he just had a very long range, which I think is quite interesting. Technology. Here's one of the last ones, if not the last. Ancient Egyptians used a plant called the papyrus plant that grew in the bottom of the Nile to make paper. Interesting enough, it actually took 2 or 3 of those whole plants to make one sheet of paper. So if you had to write an essay that was say 10 pages long, you would have to have roughly about 20 or 30 of those plants to have just enough paper. And also, you have to think that they did it all by hand, which took a very long time. I think I prefer my laptop. Current news story. Since the occurrence of ISIS, they actually have started to gather up hostages and be either taking ransom or doing prisoner exchanges. Recently, they have a American journalist that is being held for ransom, and due to this, obviously the family was notified, but during this, they said if you were to pay or negotiate or pay any ransom money, that they would not allow it. The U.S. government would not allow the family of the person to pay or even be discussing ransom or paying money to ISIS to get their family member back, which I think is quite sad. And then here are my resources, and I think that's just about it. That wraps it up.